Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran jazz guitarist John Stein on the 2021 CD Serendipity. He's based in Boston and has his own deep Kansas City roots. On this album, he was trying to find a way to reach his audience following the COVID-19 breakout. Prior to the pandemic, Whaling City Sound's Neal Weiss had asked John to bring a trio for an outdoor September show he had booked in New Bedford. But when hell broke loose, Neal moved the show inside to the new Bedford Art Museum and made plans to broadcast it virtually, along with recording audio and video. This album is the result, and it's a great one. We cover this and so much more. Enjoy.
The strange and wondrous thing about this is that the entire globe's gone through this. It's like we don't have like one story. We have a unified story that's split in all these tributaries. And one way or another, the fact that we're talking right now in late June 2021 is monumental in itself.
I agree.
But, hey, man, thank you for taking some time out to talk about the new music, and I think that's the one thing on my end of what I'm doing, the fact that I see all this new music coming out, and it mirrors that world prior to March of 2020. It's so refreshing to see all of these things coming out now.
Yeah, it's kind of it's I guess people have been repressed, and so there's a burst of energy from all of that time there. Nothing happened, you know.
So your new album, Serendipity, does come out during a time where you had limited contact with your fan base. Talk to me about how it feels for this to come out now and what it means to you.
Well, I just feel very fortunate that I did so little publicly with my music this last year. You know, the last time we spoke, I had just released an album that actually had quite a bit of success on the radio, but everything around promoting it was canceled. Everything on my calendar got totally canceled because of the pandemic. I watched one by one as everything I had arranged or was hoping to arrange disappeared. And the one thing that didn't was a concert. It was supposed to be a live concert, but instead of canceling it entirely, because that couldn't happen, the promoter, instead of canceling it, brought us into a venue, it was a large room with a high ceiling, and felt safe, and we were able to play. He arranged for a videotaping rather than a live concert. So we just did the concert as if we were playing it. We, in our mind, imagined the people who would be listening to it and enjoying it, hopefully, and just did one song after the next. And fortunately, the person that was hired to do the videotaping, his name is John Farrell, and he is not only good at videotaping, but he's a professional sound man. So he captured us playing very nicely. You know, it was just a live concert, but he managed to get all of the three of us captured very nicely. And then the videotape came out. It was broadcast on Facebook, and it was exciting for me because, you know, I was able to take the songs I liked the most in our performance and release them myself on Facebook. It was how I was sort of staying busy for a little while during a time when there weren't any public performances. One day I was in my studio and I had some tidying up to do or something. I don't know what I had to do, some cleaning up around the place. And I put the sort of playlist of the videos on as background music, and instead of watching them, I just heard it playing while I was doing other stuff. It's the first time I listened to the music without watching it. And it's very different watching a video than it is listening to music. You know, when you're watching the video, you're distracted by the visual images. And, I mean, I'm not particularly vain, but, you know, I'm sitting there making the faces you make when you're working hard to make music, you know. I don't know. Jazz music, it's very interesting. Jazz music can be very entertaining to watch, but sometimes it's more about the listening than it is the watching. Anyway, I heard this as music for the first time when I didn't watch the images. I just heard it, and I instantly realized that this guy who had recorded us had captured a really nice performance. He had done it really well, and the other players were just playing great on it. I mean, I just realized instantly this is worthy of a release in and of itself. So that's what started this whole process. was never intended to be a release. We managed to release it, and I'm very proud of it. Everything on it is really well. I never imagined actually to be able to make a live recording that I would be happy enough with the way we played, and also fortunate enough to have it recorded well enough to release it. And it sounds like a studio recording. He just did a fabulous job capturing it. So that's kind of the story of it. That's the reason why we titled it Serendipity, because it wasn't intended to be a release, but it just worked out that way.
Beautiful. What do you hope the listener, the one that either downloads or buys this album, gets from this experience?
I don't know. I mean, it's nice music. It is a live recording. It's interesting. It's the difference between a live recording and a studio recording. Studio recordings, it's hard to bring the energy to a studio recording. It's a little bit more sterile, and every time you do something, you realize, oh, well, if I don't like this take, I can try another one. Or if you play a note you don't like, you can make it disappear in the editing. Digital editing these days of recordings is very powerful, and a lot of the recordings we hear are massively edited. And I myself have always attempted to do the minimal amount of editing when I make a studio recording. But there's always some. And when you play a live recording, it's just there it is, take it or leave it, and no chance to change anything. So I don't know. It's the three of us playing together in the trio, and interesting. They're the musicians, the only ones I was playing with on any regular basis. Once the pandemic started and everything shut down, we couldn't get together even to play very well until the weather got warm. I don't live in a climate where it's warm all year round. So, but once the summer hit and it got warm here, I spent my summer last year playing, mostly duets with bass players or whatever in people's backyards or on back porches or in driveways. And the one session I did on a fairly regular basis with a group of people, with a drummer, for example, was the trio that I'm using in this. So since they were the people I was playing with, those are the people I did this videotaping with, of course. And they're great musicians. They play so well on this. It's really wonderful. And the nice thing about it is, it really sounds like a band, really grooves deeply, all the tunes. There's no, everything just worked out really nice. So I don't know, it's a live recording. It's like going to a concert and hearing the best of the concert, really. And yet the sound quality is fabulous. So, I actually was not sure whether it was worthy of a release. I mean, I thought it was, but I wanted to confirm it. And I sent the rough mix of it to the person who does radio promotion for my record label. His name is Neal. He lives in California. He's very busy, but he was nice enough to listen to it, and he gave me very positive feedback about releasing it. And the one thing he said that was interesting to me is that he didn't, until I told him, he didn't even realize it was a live recording. He thought it was a studio recording. So that tells you how nicely that John Farrell captured our music for us. So
my next question to you is this, as we think about what we've been through and the absence of live music and just the hardships, and there's been a lot of triumphs too. How do you think the world of jazz, the musicians, are going to emerge strong out of this based on what they've gone through?
Gosh, I don't know. It's really interesting right now because during the pandemic, many of the venues in the place where I live in the Boston area, and a number of the venues and places that did present music went out of business or stopped doing so. And right now, things are opening up again, but there are far fewer opportunities in my city to even play. I mean, gigs are starting to come back. I've only done a few myself, though. There are people who are busier than I, so I'm hoping that the places that went out of business are replaced by others. I know every town is different. You know, I live in the Boston area, and when I come home to Kansas City, I see a lot more opportunities for just sort of gigging around town. Restaurants and the few clubs that are there. They are more prolific in Kansas City than they are in the Boston area for some reason. I mean, Boston has a dearth of places to play. We've always suffered from that since the 50s or 60s in Boston, apparently. I mean, before my time, I arrived here in 1980, but before my time, you know, especially in the 50s into the 60s, there were a lot of neighborhood clubs, but those are almost all gone now. And a lot of restaurants in Boston do not have music the way they do in Kansas City. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping that the local gigs come back. The other thing that I retired, as you know, last year. I was planning to retire even before the pandemic. We talked about this last time we talked. But I retired in order to play music, and I had was beginning to make plans to do some traveling to present my music. And I haven't really looked into that yet because things are just opening up again. And some of the places where in the past I've played haven't opened up yet, but I'm hoping they will. So I'm just hoping the opportunities come back, or if they aren't the same venues, other ones will come. I do think that there is a hunger for music because all of us have lived without it. Not just the musicians who do the music, but the audience for the music must be hungry for it. So when it starts to come back, I'm optimistic, at least hopefully optimistic, that it will be at least as strong, if not a stronger scene for people like us than it was before. I just think we're fortunate to be here right now. So many people lost their lives and their incomes, and I personally haven't suffered greatly. I was going to retire anyway, and of course, even if I hadn't retired, Berkeley College, where I used to teach, is still going strong. So, you know, I just hope that we come back from this. The opportunities come back. I'm thinking they will, but I'm hoping for that, you know.
And I guess my next question is this. When we do come back and live music starts really kicking into high gear, and there's a lot of things that are starting to start back up and we're back in earnest, what do you hope we all realize about the power of live music, both musician and the audience?
Well, you always ask these questions that are sort of like require Zen-like answers, or at least make me wish I could provide a Zen-like answer. I don't know, you know, that's what does music mean to people? I don't know. I mean, actually, all of us who are here now who survived this pandemic, it was a year of hardship. For some, a terrible year of hardship and suffering. We're getting to be on the other side of it, and I hope that continues, and I just hope that we can make the world a better place. Right now, our country, with the politics being so divided and crazy, it feels like we're at a point where we could really get out of this in a wonderful way, and maybe we won't. I'm really praying that we do. Anyway, music is a healing thing for people. I mean, no matter what side of politics you stand on, people respond to music. It's a thing that touches our souls, touches our emotions. It's spiritual. So may music continue to provide that for people, and let's hope we all get on the other side of it. I mean, I personally am a believer in getting the vaccine so more and more people are safe. And there are people who don't want to get a shot. So I hope those people do it. It makes it better for everyone, especially for them and their families. But in any case, I hope music helps them helps us all get through this time. Your question is too big. I don't know. I did my best with it.
No, you did good. You did really, really good. And I guess my very final question here is this. Let's say you have Kansas City roots. You do come back and you play this live. How will that feel for you to come back and to be able to play this music that was originally conceived in a live environment to come back to Kansas City? You have any plans to do that?
Well, I don't have immediate plans to come back, but I'm certainly going to come back. I haven't been to Kansas City for a few years now. Even before the pandemic, it had been a year or so before I had been back. So now it's at least a few years since I was back in Kansas City. And as I told you last time, I still have family in Kansas City, and I come back on a fairly regular basis, so I'm due. It would be great to come back and play some music again. Last time I came, I played for the 12th Street Jump show. It was down at Black Lady. We did it, and it was just lovely. I would like to come back and play again, so I think I'll probably look into that when I'm ready to travel to Kansas City. I haven't been on an airplane since, but people are starting to do it. My daughter just went on a trip to California, so I guess it's time for me to start looking around for opportunities to play. And anyway, I was just focused on getting this CD out. It just came out. It was officially released on June 18th. And I'm very proud of the CD. You know, I really, as I said, I didn't ever think I'm not sure I ever expected to be able to put out a live CD. And it doesn't feel like a live CD, but it's just a really good recording. And the musicians, the bass player, Ed Lucy, and Mike Connors, the drummer, just play superbly on it. And I don't know, I'm really proud of it, and it'll feel great to play that music and all the other music I've got up my sleeve when I get a chance to come back to Kansas City.
Beautiful, John. Hey, man, it's great to catch up with you. Thanks for taking a minute out, and good luck with the album and the return to the stage.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for your interest. Best wishes to you, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning into another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Boston, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to John for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.